Welcome to Prepare For Takeoff. I'm the creator and host, Cyrus. We're the podcast dedicated to amplifying Black excellence. Every week, we sit down with a proven professional or rising entrepreneur. This week, we're sitting down with Dr. Brandon Frame, founder and CEO of the Black Man Can Foundation. Dr. Frame, what's going on?
What's going on, brother? So happy to be here. Honored that you think enough of the work to have me as a guest.
Man, you out there doing your thing. You came highly recommended, so we had to add you to our illustrious list of guests that we've had on the show, and you fit right in, man. You out there doing major things. The Black Man Can, that name in and of itself is unique, but I'm sure that you just didn't start as a brother having his own foundation with the prefix doctor in front of your name. So let's rewind it back a little bit and talk about how it all started. So you're from Connecticut, correct?
Yep, from Connecticut, from the Windsor, Hartford area, 860 representative, so one of those things a lot of times people will say, I didn't know there was Black people in Connecticut, and so there's a lot of Black people in Connecticut.
For sure.
Happy to be one of those.
For sure. And to be exact, Hartford has the highest concentration of Black people in the entire state.
Absolutely. Also, to add to that, people don't know that Connecticut is the third or fourth largest concentration of Caribbean people as well. So growing up, while I identify as African-American, Black American, almost many of the people I grew up with are from Caribbean island. And so when you come there, like the north end of Hartford is considered Little Kingston. That's just how many, and that's the largest, Jamaicans are the largest immigrant group in the state of Connecticut.
I did not know that, man. You're dropping jewels on me and my guests, to say the least, man. I knew that we had a high concentration of brothers and sisters there, but I didn't know the Caribbean connection. But I shouldn't be surprised because in the Northeast, in the New York metropolitan area, to be exact, man, there's a lot of Caribbean people that make this area home, whether it's in Brooklyn, Jersey, anywhere in the 5 boroughs. And I'm sure that it would extend, I wouldn't be surprised, to Connecticut. So you grew up in Connecticut, and at some point you found yourself in Atlanta attending Morehouse College. Is that correct?
Yep. Dear old Morehouse man, class 2009.
Okay. So what was that transition like? Did you have to do an adjustment having left Connecticut and then you go into the house and you're in the Black Mecca, or was it a smooth transition? It was just more the same as it pertains to what you were accustomed to.
What I was saying, I was like giving a big shout out to my mom who let me, while growing up, I did overnight camps, whether it was for sports or for, just like I went to this camp up in New Hampshire, Camp Calumet, right, for 2 weeks where I'm sailing and everything. So first, the idea of leaving home was rather not simple, but it was easy. It was an easy transition for me to be away from home. Granted, it'd be the longest period of time, but I had been away from home where I got to take care of myself. There was the culture shock of the South, right? So the South is just different from the Northeast. So the music, the tone that people speak with, the slang that people speak with, and then you're at a place where people are coming from all over the country. So not only am I taking on Southern culture, you're taking on West Coast culture. And then you learn like California is like 2 states, in a way, like Northern California and Southern California people are different. They dress different, they talk different. People from Chicago, people from Texas, people from Philly. Like I never heard the word John till I got to Morehouse. I got with Philly guys. So I think, right, there's the melting pot of the diaspora, which was something to get used to, but was also special. And then I'm bringing Connecticut, which is a little more adjacent to New York. So I have more like, you got Northeast swag that you're bringing to the fold right now. All of this is in one place, and that makes for a really special environment.
What made you pick Morehouse? Of all of the schools, did you want to have an HBCU experience? Were you a legacy, someone else having attended there prior to you attending, or it was something that you always wanted to do as far as go to the A and become a Morehouse man?
So first, me and the idea of going to college, I'm a hooper to start, right? So for me, and when you think about the period in which I grew up in the old school Big East, right? Mm-hmm. So I was thinking about Georgetown, Syracuse, Louisville, Miami. Like if you asked me a school I wanted to go to if I'm going to college, it was based off of like the Big East, because I'm all about UConn basketball, national champs, men and women, right? So that's what I'm about. But then I had these really unique experiences, and I think each one led to something else. The first one was my grandfather taking me to my first HBCU Classic at Giant Stadium when the New York Urban League would put on the Classic, and it was Hampton versus Grambling, and I see the bands and the people. I'm like, this is dope. right? So that's my first one. Then I see Boys in the Hood.
Mm.
If you remember at the end of I growing up and how I grew up and my experiences, I resonated with Trey. At the end of the movie, Trey goes to where?
Atlanta.
Atlanta, goes to Morehouse, right? And then my best friend, Marcus Blackwell, who also went to Morehouse, but we were on our way to SAT prep with him and his dad. His dad went to Morehouse. His dad was in the car and was like, if Marcus wants to go anywhere else, he needs to pay for it because my money's going to Morehouse. And that's how most legacies speak. But the idea of being a legacy and all that, like this is all new to me. But
Mm.
those different things. And then I went on my own Black college tour when I was a junior, and that cemented it. I walked on the campus. It felt like home. So by then I'm like, yeah, Morehouse College is the place for me.
I think a lot of people can relate to that story. My HBCU experience was a little different. I grew up in the shadows of West Virginia State University. Didn't necessarily want to go to West Virginia State because I felt like I had already been going to West Virginia State as far as the parties and all of the things that the school had to offer socially. Because my brother, he was already attending the school. My sister had attended prior to him. And literally it was walking distance from my house. So I wanted to go away to school. And shout out to Dr. Thomas Cole, who was the first president of Clark Atlanta University. He used to be the president at West Virginia State University. So I grew up with his kids. So in my mind, Brandon, I had the plug. I wrote Dr. Cole, said, Dr. Cole, I need a presidential scholarship because my parents ain't gonna let me leave. Man, he sent me this financial aid paperwork, and then I had to write him again. Man, they're not gonna let me get a loan. I need some kind of scholarship that I don't have to pay back. And he knew my parents. I guess once he realized they weren't on board with me leaving, yo, Brandon, I didn't get no more correspondence. So rest in peace, Dr. Thomas Cole, man. They love him down there. He has buildings on the campus that bear his name, and he's somebody that's a beloved figure at the CAU, man. But now you go to Morehouse, you're having the time of your life, and then do you decide to stay in Atlanta for any period of time, or did you go back to the Northeast?
So I was a business major. If you ask me during my whole 4 years, I'm going to graduate, climb the corporate ladder. I was on the marketing side. That's what I majored in, and I had internships at Aetna. I had internships at Liberty Mutual. I had internships at Kraft Foods. So I'm like, even when I got to senior year, my resume is crazy, right? Like having all those companies on your resume when you get to senior year and you had
Mm-hmm.
serious internships. I felt like LeBron James when I was a senior.
Right.
Like, yo, where am I taking my talents? But also through my experience in school, I started a mentoring program called Role Model Scholars, Gentlemen, and Ladies Mentoring. And it was through that work that I realized like this passion and purpose that I had around education. Didn't know about the nonprofit side of things, but that's the education nonprofit world is where like I think I want to take my talents, if you will. And so instead of I turned down all my corporate job offers, not at the behest of my grandmother and my mom, who were like, "Hey, you getting 60K, 70K job offers," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to take this job, being a teaching fellow at a private school in Massachusetts." So after school, I left from Atlanta. I moved to Boston, greater Boston area, to Newton specifically to teach. And then from there, that took me back to Connecticut, where I was a school administrator for 7 years. And then that brought me to New York City, where I was an educational consultant at a nonprofit consulting firm for 7 years. So that's kind of like my journey. But in the midst of that, I've been doing the Black Man Can, because I started in 2010. But that's a little bit of my journey after Morehouse, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and then now New York City.
So you were clearly walking in your purpose on purpose. You listen to your spirit, not your mind, and saying, I want to give back, I want to help others. And that led you to starting your own foundation. So talk us through how that all came to be, man, because to have your own foundation, that's no small feat. How did that all come to pass?
So, not to make a long story short, but I think the best way to describe it is there's a quote that I live by, which is, once you make an observation, you have an obligation. So I made an observation that Black men and boys need to see positive images of themselves and have their stories told, an obligation to create it. So in 2010, I bought a domain name on GoDaddy, theblackmancan.org, and started a blog. And so with that, I'm just telling stories of me, amazing brothers like yourself. I would just meet guys. And if you think about going back to 2010, You're talking about just Facebook and Twitter. Like really through Twitter, I was like trying to find men who were just doing dope stuff. And then I would reach out and say, hey, can I interview you for The Black Man Can? And so from 2010 to 2013, by 2013, I interviewed over 200 guys who were doing, really amazing things. And so then I was like, man, what it would be cool to get these men in front of boys so that they could share their stories, because there's so many powerful stories. So we launched what at that time called the Black Man Can Institute, which was our one-day conference. We launched it in Connecticut. We had almost 100 boys come from the greater Hartford and Springfield, Massachusetts area. And once we did that, and I posted some pictures, right? Now people are like, man, people would say, are you coming to my city? And then people would say, how can I support it? And so that's when we decided to become a social enterprise. So I actually now created a bank account. We're an LLC. And then people are like, I want to donate. And so then we became a nonprofit and continued to grow. We started an Instagram page. We have over 1 million followers on Instagram, promoting positive images and narratives. Then we launched the e-commerce. So we got merch and stuff and different products that we sell. So it's just been this gradual journey from the idea of, once you make an observation, you have obligation, which was just to start a blog to tell stories. And 15 years later, we are impacting the world through content, programs, and events.
Man, that's great. You're doing phenomenal work. I mean, much needed work, because I think young people, they believe what they see, not necessarily what you tell them. And if they don't have enough positive examples of who they can be, then they may begin to question if they can be those things that you tell them they can be. Think about it. Growing up, we didn't have a Barack Obama. We didn't have even a LeBron James. We didn't have anybody that we could look to. LeBron James on the field of play, man, this dude is 40 plus years old, still playing at a high level. But more importantly, look at the impact he's making off the court. And that in and of itself exceeds any of his accomplishments on the hardwood. We have to be the example. We have to lead and say, no matter what the blueprint is, we can reimagine the blueprint. If Brandon is someone that wants to make change through the Black Man Can, then maybe I can contribute to the change he's making or make change in my own walk of life. And so for me, that's what I'm driven by, man. I'm driven by elevating people, by telling their stories through content, through messaging, and allowing us as a Black-owned media company to be able to change the narrative as it relates to people of color. When you see people of color, you see them on the news. You don't see them in the most flattering positions, or you see them in a marginalized capacity. It's not enough stories that feature people like you, that feature people like people that are doing phenomenal things in medicine, people that are doing phenomenal things on Wall Street, people that are doing phenomenal things in business. Those stories aren't told enough. Every once in a while, we'll get that opportunity to celebrate that on an annual basis, whether it's the Image Awards or, the pilgrimage that everybody makes to Martha's Vineyard. That's for a small window of time during the calendar year. But every week, what we pride ourselves on doing is amplifying Black excellence. And my brother, you are truly the embodiment of Black excellence. And not only do I want to get into the fact that you have this phenomenal foundation, but you have that prefix in front of your name, which is an accomplishment in and of itself, man, especially in our community. So how did that come to be? Did you always know that you wanted to continue to accelerate your learning as it pertains to getting your PhD, or was that something that just happened organically?
It's definitely more organic than it is me. Like, man, I want to become Dr. Frame. The story there, I try to keep it short. I can give the long version, but I'll be talking forever. So I'm going to give the truncated, the version. So it starts with me having my job in Connecticut, doing great, being recruited for some jobs. And then I would always get to these interviews of jobs I'm being recruited for. Now, ones I applied to, just ones I was getting recruited for. And then they would be like, you don't have the master's degree, or you don't have the work experience around. A lot of times it'd be like managing people, managing budgets, right? And so I didn't necessarily have that. And, if you know what you're interviewing for, when I answer questions, you could tell like, oh, he hasn't really done that. And sometimes that master's degree or an MBA would denote that you can do it even if you haven't done it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I first started trying to do MBA programs, and then I found programs that were MBA MED, where you can get both degrees. And I'm taking the GMAT, I'm trying to take the GRE, but I've always sucked on standardized tests. Like my SAT scores are trash, GMAT scores are trash. It's all trash, right? Like I got good grades, but don't have good standardized test scores. But the standardized test scores matter so much, and so um, I'm bombing out on the applications, trying to get into the schools that I'm trying to go to because all of them are like top 20 business schools, top 20 schools of education. And so I'm like, all right, well, you just keep trying, right? And then I'm like, oh, let me look at some doctoral programs. So the main one I looked at, because I don't have a master's degree, was the one at Harvard, because they literally say you don't need a master's degree to apply. And so I'm looking at that one simultaneously. A brother named Keith reached out to me to say, hey, can you speak at my conference? Because he spoke at a Black Man Can event, saying Black Man Can's all have been my life, right? Like they can't imagine. So he spoke at the Black Man Can. I don't know him, but he ends up speaking at the Black Man Can conference through somebody else who connected us. So he speaks and he's like, yo, I love what you're doing. Can you speak at my conference? I'm like, yes, because he knows about the work that I do outside of work, coupled with the Black Man Can. I would love for you to speak at my conference. I'm like, I'll speak at your conference. Based off the date he gave me, I have reapplied to all these schools. If I get in, I can't speak at your conference because I wouldn't have the same role anymore. And so I don't get into the programs, don't get into Harvard and some of the other programs. So I'm like, man, I can speak at your conference. Let's book everything.
Right.
He says, man, have you looked at any other programs? I'm like, yes, but they all require a master's degree. I don't have a master's degree. So then he says, you know what? I know a dude. I'm gonna give him a call. I get back to you. Again, this is a dude I've only met one time, but he's just rocking with moving.
Right.
And so then he calls me back like a week later. He's like, yo, Dr. Bob, he runs the program at Boston University. They're looking for students and stuff like that. I told him about you, told me your situation. He just said you should give him a call. So I said, all right, I'm going to call Dr. Bob.
Right.
I called Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob's like, I looked you up, Googled you, seen the work that you're doing. I think you'd be a great addition to the program. Just apply and, we'll take it from there. So he didn't tell me like I'm getting there, but he said, I got to apply. He still left it in my hands because I could have like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
So anyway,
kept pushing.
Yeah. So I decided to apply. I applied in like 24 hours. I get the rejection because it says, oh, you don't have a master's degree. Rejection. Call them up, say, hey, I got rejected because I don't have the master's degree. But we said, all right, I'll get back to you. And so then maybe 2 weeks go by, and then I get an acceptance letter to Boston University saying we've looked through everything. We've decided to reverse the decision. We would love to accept you into the program. Boom. And then I got into Boston University. And that year when I got in, it was right before the pandemic started. Literally, like it was around that time. School was supposed to start that summer. So we did everything online. But from 2020 to 2023 was at Boston University while working, getting my doctorate, and became Dr. Frame. And that's it. Like it wasn't, like I said, like that's why I had to kind of tell the story, because it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna get doctor. It's like, nah, I couldn't get into this. I couldn't get an MBA because I couldn't get the GMAT score.
Right.
Programs.
You get past that hurdle.
Couldn't get over that hurdle. And so boom, and now here I'm as Dr. Frame, and yeah, like I did all the work and stuff, and now like I'm also a professor at Sacred Heart University in Fairfield, Connecticut, where I teach in the doctoral program. So now I help other people and teach other students as they're getting their doctorates, and that's definitely not on the bingo cards. Like if you told me 10 years ago I would be a doctor and also working at a university as a professor, like, nah, that's not me, but
you're the wrong guy.
That's how God works in our lives.
Your story is phenomenal, because a lot of people, when they have all of these things that they want to accomplish, there is seemingly one path to their destination. Well, you're proof positive that there is no one path. You can take multiple paths to the same destination. And shout out to Dr. Bob, because Dr. Bob held you down and said, look, despite the fact you don't have a master's, I'm going to consider all of the other work you've done, whether with the foundation, what you've done professionally, and we're going to see fit to accept you into the program. Sometimes a lot of people, they eliminate themselves from consideration based on what they come to realize, oh, I don't meet those qualifications, so therefore I'm not going to even take the time to apply. But sometimes it's just a matter of putting your best foot forward and allowing God to do his work and allowing the universe to work to your advantage. And not only was it Dr. Bob, but Dr. Keith also held you down because he put you in contact with Dr. Bob that put you in a position to, as we would say on the show, he put you in a position to prepare for takeoff and getting your PhD.
Absolutely. I mean, and he didn't, like I said, I met Dr. Keith at that point only one time, right? Like it wasn't like, it's not even, we're not even like boys per se at this point in time. Now we're really cool whenever I see him, or if I go to Boston, we link up. But like, he's just like, yo, you're a brother trying to move forward in life, do his thing. I'm gonna just open some doors for you because that's just what we should do for one another, you know? And then Dr. Bob just believing in me, right? Reading, just looking at, again, never met the guy. You got one person give a recommendation. He's like, yo, I Googled you. I think you'd be a great addition to the program. So I just think you should apply, right? And then, but for everybody that's listening, is like, you still got to walk through that door, right? Like two different people opened the door. Like also didn't have to call Dr. Bob when Keith said, call this guy, right? So open the door, make that phone call, apply to that program, build that network, host that event. Starting the Black Man Can is how I met Dr. Keith, right? Like, and then I met Keith because I know another brother named Mark, Mark Appelard, who partnered with me at William James College to host that Black Man Can Institute, right? So like all these things, like, and that's when you know they're just a God, right? God is helping us take off, right? Because he just like, oh, you just keep walking by faith and not by sight, and I'm gonna just open the door for you. I'm gonna make the connection for you, and then I'm gonna let you do what you do, and then it's take off.
You're dropping jewels, to say the least. So now, how did that opportunity at Sacred Heart University come to be, and you becoming a professor, man, and you're molding and shaping the minds of future leaders of tomorrow?
So my job adjacent to while I was in school was at least risen to the level of senior director of social emotional learning. So I'm working with schools and districts all across the country around implementation, sustainability, capacity building, around ensuring the schools organized around the principles of social emotional learning. So my doctorate is in education, leadership, and policy, but with my dissertation and all my research is focused on social emotional learning, emotional intelligence. And so upon getting the doctorate, because of what I focused on, I reached out to Dr. Christina Cipriano, who's a professor at Yale University, around like, hey, looking at different opportunities, specifically looking at, I know about the Sacred Heart program because Sacred Heart has the only doctorate, or one of the only doctorates in the country solely focused on social emotional learning. And so I reached out, I'm like, could you make the connection? I'm like interested if they have any opportunities. So Dr. Sobrano made the email connection. Then I got to speak with Dr. Maureen Ruby, who is one of the leaders of the program. She read my dissertation, the work that I do. And they were like, we actually need you. You're perfect for our program. And you can actually teach the SEL leadership class based off your research and the work that you do. And so that door opened and I got to walk through it to become a professor. So I teach a fall course and a spring course on SEL leadership, helping doctoral students as they're going through their classes process on SEL leadership and what that looks like in schools. And it's a wonderful opportunity.
Thinking about starting your own business? Make it real with Shopify, the all-in-one platform trusted by millions to sell online and in person. Whether it's merch, art, or digital goods, Shopify gives you the tools to build, grow, and succeed. And here's the best part. When you sign up using the affiliate link in our show notes, you're supporting Prepare For Takeoff and starting your business off right. Click the link and start your free trial today. I'm sure a lot of our viewers and listeners are probably asking themselves, what is the most difficult part of getting your PhD? Is it the dissertation? Is it defending? What's the most difficult part of that process, would you say? Especially somebody who didn't have the prep of getting your master's. You went from undergrad to doing the work in the community to back in the classroom and getting your PhD. So what was the most difficult part of that process?
I think the dissertation process is the hardest part because you're doing something you've never done before. So anybody that has written a dissertation will just tell you like it's like writing a book. But if you haven't written a book, again, it's kind of like you're going to read 40 pages, 100 pages to write a paragraph. Right? Like just think about that. Like you got to read 40, 50 pages to write a paragraph, right? That and think about like, and you're writing something that might be almost 100, 200, 300 pages long, right? So I think that becomes that. Also deciding what you want to do your dissertation on is also a thing. I would say what I always tell people now when I get a chance to talk with them, and even my current students when we're talking about what they want to study, I was like, if CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, whomever called you to talk about one thing, what is that one thing? And that's what you should do your dissertation on, because you're going to be a scholar of this one thing. Like when we see people with doctorates on news networks talking about a topic, is because that person is the leading scholar or one of the leading scholars in that area. They know more about a topic than the average human being, because they studied it and to a degree that is almost like, I don't know if I want to read anything. I don't know if I want to be that expert on the theory and practice of one thing. And so I'm always telling people that. So I think that's can also be a hard part to like, what's the thing you want to be a scholar on, right? Like you literally know more than any other human being on the face of the earth about this one thing.
That's a good way of looking at it, man, because it goes back again to pursuing your passion, and your passion will help lead you to your purpose. And I always encourage people, what is it that you're passionate about, and pursue that. To your exact point earlier, don't worry about whether or not it's a clear path to where you want to go. Don't worry about whether or not you don't have the GPS coordinates. Don't worry about if you're trying to figure it out as you go. Some of the people who have had the most success will tell you experience is the best teacher. And don't develop paralysis by analysis. I want to get my PhD, but I have to do my research. I have to do this. I have to do that. And you're proof positive of that, man. You got to just walk through that door. And you have no idea what's going to be waiting for you on the other side of that door. And again, I'm certain that that's something that you, when you're doing all of the work with your foundation, I'm sure that's a lot of things that you're trying to tell young people, boys and young men, hey, this is the things that you can do. What is it that you want to do? And I think once people can answer that question, they feel a lot better as it pertains to them being able to say, I have a purpose on this earth. There's something that I want to do. I always thought that it wasn't possible. Maybe my father, maybe my brothers, maybe my mother told me I couldn't do it because no one has ever done it. But Dr. Frame told me that I could do it. So now I find myself doing it.
Absolutely. And one thing I just want to add to that I often talk to young men, I actually talk to all people about this, but definitely in our programming that we're talking about, is that what you're passionate and what your purpose is, and what you're good at sometimes aren't the same thing. And that's also okay, because you don't have to monetize what your passionate or your purpose is. There's things that you're really, really good at, which is usually in a skill that you've acquired, and you use that skill to make lots of money in whatever you do, and that allows you to live out your passion, whatever that may be. Now, when you can merge it all together, amazing, love it, and continue. But I think it's also important for people to know that like there's a skill that you have and that you can acquire, you can develop, and be absolutely amazing at that, right? It might not be that you're really passionate about it, or it might not be your purpose, but you can get a skill, be so good at it, and then whatever your passion or your purpose is, you get to live that out, and whatever that is, because of something that you're extremely, extremely good at.
I would call that the oxygen that allows you to pursue your dream. You may be really good at being a scholar in the classroom, whether it's on a middle school, high school, or higher ed level. And maybe that doesn't necessarily come with maybe some of the things that you want to find yourself doing. Maybe it's wanting to pursue something in entertainment. Maybe it's wanting to be an artist. Maybe it's wanting to be an author. But those things may not necessarily be something that you can monetize right away. We all have bills. We all have a lifestyle that we have to maintain. Nobody wants to sleep under a bridge in the name of pursuing their passion. But you have to find out, what is it that I can do that allows me to have enough oxygen to take that deep dive? Imagine if you say, man, I'm just going to just dive off the boat, and I'm going to dive as far as I can, and hopefully I can get to the treasure. Well, that's not going to necessarily be a great experience for you because you have no idea where the treasure is. And then once you're down there only for a short period of time, you don't have to come up for air. But if you have that oxygen at your disposal and you have a job or you have a skill set you've developed, whether you're a barber, whether you're a carpenter, whatever it might be, and you may not necessarily be passionate about this, you may have a business you've inherited from your parents. You're not passionate about it. He's like, hey, I don't want to be a funeral director. But guess what? Being a funeral director may put you in a position to start your own production company because these things take money. And sometimes the things that you're passionate about, they're not necessarily things that are always quickly monetized. If you tie the monetary component to what it is you're passionate about, then that might discourage people from continuing to pursue what that passion is and say, man, I'm not making any money, so I got to quit. And then they're going to find themselves on Regret Boulevard. And because someone else found a way to continue down that path, and then they eventually got to their destination. One of our guests recently shared with us, he said, success is inevitable. It's just a matter of staying the course. If you stay on that course long enough, you will eventually get to your destination. But far too often, people, they exit off that exit ramp on their way to success. So I always try to encourage people, everybody's pathway to success, everybody's pathway to getting their PhD, it's going to all look different. God made us different. So our paths are going to be different. The vision that I have for myself may not necessarily be the same vision that you have for yourself. So we have to be able to embrace what's in our spirit and surround ourselves by people who can make us feel like you make other people feel the Black man can. And I mean, that's why I said, bro, the work you're doing is great. And talk us through some of the programs, because I know you've done a lot of different things with your foundation. Talk us through some of the programming that you guys offer in the community.
Yes, so we have a plethora of different programs. One is our school year mentoring program. It's called Building a Better Brother, and it's a social emotional learning and entrepreneurship program. So we have that inside of schools where we have young men learning about building a business, learning about social emotional skills, bringing different speakers, different project-based activities that allow for them to just grow and develop brotherhood, vulnerability, and so much more. We also have summer camps for young men where we're doing summer camps during the summer. So think about going back to being 8-year-old Terry, right? And if you could go to a camp that's meticulously designed just for you and every inch of who the man you're eventually going to become, but you can get that. And then that's all run by Black male teachers and social workers and counselors. So you just getting hit everywhere, all the development. When conflict happens, what does restorative justice and restorative conflict look like? But you're getting other men to lead you in what that looks like as you have conflict with another boy who looks like you and how we're supposed to resolve. It's like this really powerful place. And we also have work in juvenile facilities where we're working with young men who are incarcerated, may have made a decision or two that's not the best. But we want to give them all the rehabilitation that they need in terms of skills, knowledge, and information. So when they are returning back to society, they are equipped with those skills so that they can then pursue and become the men that they're designed and destined to be. So those are our major programs that we have across different communities across the country.
Man, that's great. I know you had mentioned, one of the most difficult things about your PhD is a dissertation. And a lot of times these dissertations are published and they're released as books. So is that something that you did? Talk us through that.
Yeah, so my dissertation, you can go on like Google Scholar, the BU library, in order to read my dissertation on social emotional learning directors, if that interests you, right? So we have that. I'm also a children's book author, so I wrote a book called My First Tie with a woman named Deneen Eskridge. And it's a book about little Dell and him learning how to tie his tie for the first time with his dad. Really powerful, wonderful story. I get to go around the schools across the country and read to students and give them ties and talk about honesty and character and everything like that. So it's really amazing. Working on a book now with Guilford Press called SEL Nation, which is exploring the last 4 or 5 years in social emotional learning work and initiatives that have taken place across the country. This directly ties back to like my dissertation and the work. So, hopefully when that comes out, it'll be a New York Times bestseller, book of the year type thing. We'll see what happens. And so I have lots of other books. I got scripts for movies. If I showed you my Google Docs, you would see like this folder, and it's just all these ideas of things that I eventually want to do. in life in terms of creating change, creating impact, telling stories, showcasing the best of who we are.
This episode of Prepare for Takeoff is brought to you in part by Riverside, the platform that I trust to record studio quality podcasts right from my laptop. With Riverside, I get crystal clear audio and 4K video. Plus, it's super easy to use. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, Riverside helps your podcast sound amazing. Try it out for yourself. Click the affiliate link in our show notes and start recording like a pro with Riverside. One of the things that is our area of expertise is content. So we should definitely plug in and see how we can take some of those ideas that you have and take it to the screen, whether that's through a documentary, a feature, whatever the case may be. We've done, both of those.
So I think that, and who connected us, Billy. So Billy's aware of what I'm about to share, and I think it's perfect. He probably already has it on his radar. Like, let y'all do this first, and then, but our big event that we want to do that is to bring everything that we've talked about and bring it full circle is we want to do the Black Man Can Awards. So think Essence, Black Women in Hollywood, Black Girls Rock, but for us. So we have the brand name, right, that already resonates with the country. We already have a venue that can live stream this awards show. So we'll have to talk some more because that's what we want to do. We want to create the ultimate celebration of just Black men from all walks, from Hollywood to entertainment to the brother that's in the community. Like, I know that we both know men across the country, like, the world doesn't know this person, but in that community, everybody knows that person. And we as Black men occupy all of those, right? From the community person that everybody knows to LeBron James and the whole world knows. But this is who Black men are. So that's what we want to create. So
I think that's a phenomenal idea, and whatever we can do to help contribute to making that a reality, count us in at Outspoken Media Group, man. You are definitely somebody who is not talking about it, you're being about it, and as the shirt says, the Black man truly can, and you're doing it on a major level, man. Must continue success. I wanted to give you the opportunity before we close out to leave us with 3 things that you feel will help our viewers and listeners prepare for takeoff.
Oh, if you want to prepare for takeoff, I'm gonna give you one story. This is why you gotta prepare. This is how you prepare for takeoff. First, and it goes like this: have you ever had 7-Up, the soda?
Absolutely.
So 7-Up, it's called 7-Up because it took them 7 different formulas because they got the right chemicals together to make 7-Up that we drink today, right? Have you ever used WD-40?
Of course.
WD-40 stands for water displacement. WD perfected on the 40th try. That's why. Have you ever used 409 to clean the kitchen? Or is at the grocery store you see 409, the cleaning agent?
100%.
It's called 409 because it took them 409 times to get the right chemicals together in order to make the agent. So in order to get ready for takeoff, the truth of the matter is, as you are on the runway and you're preparing, it might take 7 times, it might take 40 times, and it just might take 409 times. But if you prepare, if you're consistent, and you persist, you can take off and be ready for takeoff because you push through all the different challenges in order to take off and pursue excellence with impeccable effort.
Man, I didn't know that Dr. Frame had these kind of bars, bro. We have to get you a deal somewhere, man. I mean, shout out to how you just unpacked that in such a way that made it very digestible to not just me, but our viewers and listeners, man. And everything you're saying is spot on, man. It's you have to continue to stay the course. Don't be discouraged. Be patiently persistent. That's why I always tell people, pursue your passion because it's not going to come easy. So if you're passionate about it, you're less likely to quit. Because one of the gifts that my dad bestowed on me, he taught me many life lessons, and he still does to this day. But one of the things he shared with me, Brandon, at an early age, he said, if you start something, don't quit. So I can relate to that, whether it's 7 times, 40 times, 409 times, 1,000 times. If it's in my spirit, I'm going to continue to do it. And I think not only did my dad help me with that, but also, having pledged to make us our Phi Fraternity Incorporated, there's so many different things that I learned from that experience. I have no quit in me, bro.
Yeah.
So that's just how I'm wired, man. And speaking of quitting, we don't want to have to wrap up this conversation, but we don't have but so much time because you're a busy man. But I'm certain that our viewers and listeners, they're going to want to figure out, how can I tap in with the Black Man Can Foundation, Dr. Frame? How can they find you on social media, your website, email, whatever you feel comfortable with sharing?
Absolutely. First, you can definitely tap in with us through our website, www.theblackmancan.org. Has all our information, learn more about the organization. You can follow us on social media, The Black Man Can on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And then when you read the website, you see the page, you see the work. We're always looking, whether it's $1, $10, $100. Again, it's a nonprofit. So you're more than welcome to make a donation to the organization so that we can just continue to further our mission to actively promote a positive Black male image, create events, programming, and content that showcases the best and the brilliance and the brightest of Black men and boys.
Man, that's great. Well, Dr. Frame, man, I couldn't be more proud of you. Much continued success to you, my brother. And like I said, anything we can do to make our contribution to the cause, let me know and we'll make it happen.
Definitely. We'll do. We'll after this, before in the next 24 hours, you're going to hear from me about like, hey, here's some ideas, so.
Hey, let's go, man. I'm with it. So once again, man, congratulations on all of what it is you're doing and how you're walking in your purpose on purpose and how you're not just, inspiring other men, you're inspiring the future leaders of tomorrow with boys, and just how you are being very intentional by way of how you show up, whether you're on this podcast, whether you're at a speaking engagement, whether you're in the community. Man, you never know who's watching. Somebody's always watching, and you're changing lives in ways you probably don't even realize.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Those words mean a great deal, and what they really serve as is fuel to keep going, right? Because those are things that you can't see and touch. You're sitting and you're trying to create and do, and you have to have that belief, right? That like everything is working, outside in the world, and people are moved and motivated and inspired by the work that you're doing. So that really serves as fuel to me. So I thank you.
Absolutely, man. So not only do I want to thank you, I want to thank our viewers and listeners, whether you're watching us on YouTube or you're watching us on Spotify or you're listening to us on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Audible, iHeart, or Pandora. As you know, every week we're going to continue to bring you proven professionals and rising entrepreneurs. And all of these conversations, just like this one, will help you prepare for takeoff. Dr. Frame, thanks for joining us, my brother.
Thank you for having me.